Hey folks, Jason here with Dirt Race Life. So in this episode on our metric street stock build, we're going to put in a fire suppression system. Alright, let's get busy. The system that I've got here to install in the car, this is the Fire Bottle brand. And this is the one that I bought. This was the least expensive manual and automatic kit that they had. So this is the 5-pound bottle right here. It has this automatic head on it right here. This is the first time I have ever installed a system like this. So I did a little research, I read the instructions. This fire bottle on their website, they've got some YouTube videos showing like how it works and everything. Really good information out there on this. It's really simple how it works. It's got an automatic head that has got a spring-loaded trigger in it that's loaded all the time. And it's got that safety pin right there. And basically all it boils down to is that it has a sensor that is a glass valve that is temperature sensitive. And I think on their YouTube videos it said if it goes over 170 degrees. This is just like a cover for like if you're washing or something like that to keep from like hitting it with a pressure washer. Because if you bust this, that's going off. But anyway, if it's over 170 degrees, the little glass valve will break. Well, when it does, I think the way it works is like it releases the pressure in here, and then that lets this thing snap down in, and it opens this bottle up, and then it just goes. It goes till it's empty. And then the manual process is a cable, and then the cable has got where it'll run through it. And when you put the cable in, once you put the cable in, you can pull this pin out. You cannot pull this pin out until the cable is in. Otherwise, it's gonna go. But anyway, once you get the cable in, you can pull this safety pin out right here. Well, if you snatch this fire handle on that cable, it will trigger it just like this automatic one would, where the plunger will snap down in there and then it just goes. And it goes until it's empty. It's a liquid down in there, and it's got like a dip tube, you know, a dip tube going down in it to pick it up. And I think what I read on it, it would go like hard, like it would extinguish very hard for like the first 30 seconds to a minute, and then it would start dissipating and slowing down. And the idea is that it's buying you time. It's buying you time to like get out of the car. It's not necessarily going to like put out any kind of fire and stuff. But it's that safety measure to get you that extra time to get those belts off, let safety crews get to you, get out of that car. Remember, anything like this right here, your safety is your responsibility. I'm showing you an example of how I'm doing it and just trying to do the best I can, the safest way that I see for me and my application. You have to do your own research and make sure you do it the safest you can for your application. Okay, so got the safety cable here. It's got like a little handle here so that you know that's like it's got like a safety clip so that you can lock this out where it doesn't accidentally get pulled. And then it's got an aluminum mounting plate right here and 2 straps. I do see where these come with like these stainless steel bands, but then there are better clamps that you can buy that's like aluminum clamps, like a weight mounting bracket that you can get as well. I was a little like, oh, on these right here, but I'm doing something to help compensate for that. I'll show you in a second. Anyway, aluminum tubing right here to run it. I think that's 1/4-inch aluminum tubing. And then it comes, this 5-pound kit comes with 2 nozzles. So these spray nozzles have got very small orifices in them to direct it out of them. And then like a 3-way splitter for the 2 nozzles, and just brass ferrules. So real simple to put it together. We're gonna knock all that out in this video. But that's it, that's all it comes with. And this is the 5-pound that comes with 2 orifices. The 10-pound I saw comes with 3 orifices. So you gotta have more chemical because you're spraying out more nozzles. And then we'll talk about like where do we put the 2. So one other thing. I went ahead and did a little pre-work before this video because I was looking at where we're going to mount this thing. And of course, this is an aluminum plate, so like I can't just weld this on, you know, so I got to bolt this somewhere. And I was looking at like where I had to bolt, and I was like, well, I'm going to end up having to weld a plate somewhere to bolt this to. And if I'm going to weld a plate, I went ahead and I went with a 20-inch by 6-inch piece of 1/4-inch plate steel right here. Drilled some holes in it for that to bolt into it. And I went ahead, cut an end plate, and I cut a retainer. And we're going to put these together. And when I show you where it's going in this car, it's going to make sense, because I made an end plate and then I made a retainer to go like that right there. And the reason is that way this will sit like that right there with this to the front of the car. Let me show you where I'm going to put this, and that's going to make a lot of sense. When I read the instructions for this, they have a couple of preferred ways that they want you to mount this thing. And what they suggested was like sideways horizontal like this, or around like this, or with the dip tube forward like this. Those are the three that I think were the preferred methods. And then acceptable but not as good would be straight up like this. And then it was do not mount it like this. Okay, and so what's going on here is that you've got a dip tube. So if you've got it upside down, your dip tube is in the vapor. It's still going to go off, but you're vapor the whole time. And the dip tube, you want to be like pick up the liquid, and the vapor's pushing the liquid out. So, you know, like this works, but it's not as preferred, because if the car is over on the roof, you're in the vapor instead of in the liquid. Okay, so it's not going to be as optimal if the car's on, you know, on its lid upside down. And then they don't want you to go with the head of it forward, because, like for example, if you have an engine fire and you're trying to stop the car, you're trying to decelerate and stop the car, and you know you've got this huge oil fire that's rolling back on you, and you're trying to push those flames out of your driver's compartment. Well, that deceleration is going to push the liquid away from the dip tube. You know, so the liquid's going to be pushing forward, and so that's not ideal either. And so when I looked at it, I said, well, you know, looking at that straps and stuff, I was like, I want it to be like this, in this orientation. And that way, my straps, you know, if I do come to a sudden stop, you know, I can have a stop on the end of the bottle. I didn't like as much the sideways. I think I would be good with the sideways, but I would want some big, beefy aluminum mounts if I did do it sideways. And then the other thing on mounting sideways is that, you know, I'm going to get some rocks that are going to come up through here. Like, you know, my cars, and I don't know about y'all, but like all of this underneath here, eventually all of this paint gets beat off, and you'll just have rock marks all in this. Well, you know, I don't like the idea of that head like being stuck out there and possibly getting all beat up. You know, maybe the gauge getting busted and different things like that going on. And so I looked at all that and I said, well, I think I'll take and I'll mount a plate long ways right in here like this. And then I'll have an end cap that it will sit into. Sit this up here. That's heavy. But where it's going, heavy's fine. I gotta add weight this car. Yeah, so like that end cap sitting right there in the end with that retainer. And so that way, if I come to a sudden stop, it's into the end of it. It gives it something good and solid. It also protects it. Rocks are coming from this direction. It's got a big protector on the end of it. And I made this big old plate. And where it's going, let me move this without tearing it up. So I've already cleaned off, and I'm going to weld that in right there. And then I'm going to just put me a big arm tube coming up right here for the other, to support the other side. That's a good spot. I've got to add weight to this car. I've got to melt down some more lead. Car is way light. I can already tell the car is way light. And so this is right in the center of the CG. It wouldn't hurt me to bolt another 100 pounds right in here, to be honest. So I just went ahead and got me a big old piece of 1/4-inch plate steel here. It's fine. I've got to find more weight for sure and put on this car. All right, so with that said, I'm going to go ahead and get on the table over here. I'm going to throw this together right quick, and then we'll mount that up, and we'll get started bolting this thing in and plumbing it and figuring out where to put stuff. plate here put together, and I got me a short tube notched out there, and I got to figure out some kind of way to get in here and see if I can stick all this together. What I'd like to do is stick this to that and then take it out and weld it up solid, but I need about 14 hands, I think, to do that. I think I'm going to be able to wear that and do this. Let's see if I can, let's see if I can do it. Not sure. This is liable to look like a goat roping right here. I could have stood to have left that rub rail off until I got this done. I'm going to get one shot. We're going to stick it, and it's going to like it, and we're going to go on with it. You booger bear, you. Bottom here. And I got my plate right here. That's going to go right in there like that. It said be careful not to kink these lines, but I got plenty of room. And that's going to go. Oh, I guess I was pretty darn close on that, wasn't I? So I'm not going to actually bolt this plate down yet, because after we get all of this said and done, I'm going to go back and take this apart and paint it. But I won't put the painting on video, because don't nobody want to sit there and watch a video on paint drying. This oil-based paint, so it takes a while to dry. But yeah, so that's how this is going to work. Like this right here. And we'll just temporarily sit it here, and we'll work all the plumbing and everything out. That looks good. It looks like a good, beefy, safe spot to put it in. So that's going to sit just like it right there. It's going to be bolted down. I got a port coming out right here. This pickup right here I'm putting in the driver's compartment. And I imagine I'll just take and do something like that right there. I moved around to this side for a little better angle on what I'm talking about here. So that's the automatic pickup, all right? I'm thinking that that's going to be coming through the side of my driver's compartment right there, and then my nozzle, and then my manual pull cable. And the way I think I'm going to do this is I'm going to take, I need this to be really beefy for that. When you jerk that out, you got to pull hard. And so they say mount it really solid. And so what I think I'm going to do is I got me a little piece of aluminum plate right here, and it's got a lip on the top side of it. It's going to make it really stiff, and this is an extra, like another 60 thousandths piece. So I'm going to drill the 3 holes, and then I can just like mount that and then pile it on through the driver's compartment, and it's going to make a real rigid plate. So I'm just going to measure. I know that is 7/8. I think it said in the instructions is what you had to drill the hole. I think so, yeah. Yeah. So that's 7/8 to go through that one. And then the middle one, I'll do a 1/2 inch. And then I bet this one's a 1/2 inch as well. Yeah. So 2 1/2 inch holes and then a 7/8 hole through this. And then we're just going to pop rivet it, chase them through, start putting stuff in here. I may need to climb in the car and do this. May not be no easy way. Oh, I think I got a good spot here. Yep. Got a tube right here. I gotta make sure that things go around and work. This thing will be way high enough that my arm's not gonna get in the way. Of course, when I bolt everything through, then it's really bolted up tight. Rivets ain't really what's gonna hold it. So in my reading and research on this, the 5-pound has the 2 orifices, and then the 10-pound, of course, has the 3. And so it's like, well, where do you put the 2? And when you've got 2 nozzles, it recommends that you put one in the driver's compartment, and then you put the other one, there it goes. Yep, there's your safety pin right there. Yeah, one in the driver's compartment and one in the engine bay if you've got 2. And if you've got the 10-pound model that has 3, they say one in the engine bay, one in the driver's compartment, and one at the rear back here with the fuel cell. I guess, hindsight, maybe I wished I'd went ahead and got the 10-pound model. But I'm tickled to death with this. It's far more safety than I've ever had in my life. So, you know, hey, we're going to go with it. But, you know, yeah, I could upgrade this and move to a 10-pound model later. Might do that. But anyway, but yeah, one in the driver's compartment, one in the engine bay, and then if you've got 3, the next one go to the fuel cell with it. You can see how I ran these lines where I made sure I didn't put a tight kink in my cable here where it would pull smooth, and then also made sure I didn't put a kink into my automatic firing line right here. This line right here, you don't want to kink it, you don't want to take it apart or anything, or it'll make that bottle go off. So everything's smooth. I just rolled them up, attached them to the wall here. Hopefully they're going to be out of the way. I think my fuel line is going to come right through here above that. But now, so I've got my nozzle for the driver's compartment going in right here. The one from the engine bay, I'm going to spray forward from back here. And I think I'm going to put it right, I've got me a little tab right here. I think I'm going to put it right in here. You can see I just made me a little tab, drilled a hole where I could mount it. And I'm thinking I'm just going to come to that line right up the firewall and go right in here. Yeah, right there. Pretty tight. Okay. Oh yeah, that's great. I've got my 1/4-inch aluminum tubing here, kind of just straighten some out right quick. Of course, this stuff's easy to work with. You don't really need a bender to work with like this aluminum tubing. As long as you don't try to make a real tight bend, you're not going to kink this stuff. But that's probably why they use it. But anyway, a little bit more fragile though. You don't want to have this like sitting here just like shaking like crazy. That's for sure. You'd want to secure it. We want to secure it. We don't want it to be where it can just wiggle constantly. I do think it would crack easier. But let's see, we're going to have one coming from the bottle. We've got our first nozzle right here, so we're going to have a T and hit that nozzle, and then we're just going to go straight forward into that nozzle. And so what I'm thinking is the first one is going to turn to go into the bottle. So I'm going to put a little turn on it. Got our little handy dandy thingamadooey here. Put a 90 right there. Of course, we got tubing. Gotta have a tubing cutter. No ifs, ands, or buts. This is an old Chicago Imperial that I've got. It is probably older than I am, but works perfect. I'm talking about tubing cutter. That's a tubing cutter right there. You can get these things on Amazon for like 10 bucks. They're dirt cheap. I probably got a link to one on my website. Check out dirtracelife.com. You can pull it up on your cell phone, and it's got links to stuff on it that I use. And then we've got like playlists with all the videos on there and all kind of great stuff. So I got put some blueprints for some frames and some different things on the website. So that way I can keep up with them. Okay, so like that's going to go in right there into the tank. So I'm just going to loosely put. If y'all have never seen how a ferrule works, let me show you. So I got the tube cut off, right? And then you take and you put the end on. There's the compression end, and then you have a ferrule. And the ferrule goes on. See that? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to squeeze this end into this piece, and they're coned on both sides, and it's going to squeeze that ferrule down and pinch that tube. And that's how that works. Now I'm not going to do this right now because I'm going to take it all apart and paint and stuff after all this is over with. But you just turn that a couple turns until this won't wiggle or move, and it's got it pinched. It's got it. That's how it works. That's how ferrule compression works. So that's going to go into the bottle right there, and I'm just going to bend this by hand. I don't even need the bender for this stuff. It is super easy to work with. Throw my tubing cutter on there. There we go. Okay, so there's that. I'm going to curl that around, and I'll probably put me some little straps right there. Make sure that's good and secure. But let's get this. Yeah, that looks great. Let's get this other one in there before we take and strap that down. So this should be really easy because this is just a straight tube. You know, these aluminum tubes, they're not going anywhere. They're super lightweight, and the ends on them are rigid, you know, where I got them bolted in. But vibration is what I'm thinking about right here. So, got some little plastic clips here. They won't rub in, they won't hurt it. They'll just keep it from vibrating so much. And hopefully, that will help keep them in place. And big clod or something happens, it won't come in, bend it all out of place or anything like that. We'll just throw a few of these in there. The last part of this is the manual cable. You cannot arm this until you put this manual cable in, and it goes right through the top of the head, go all the way through with it. And then you've got an Allen set screw that you tighten down. This Allen set screw right here, I think, is like a 5/32 or 5/64 or 2 millimeter. I think really what it is a 2 millimeter. It's a little bitty Allen screw. But push that thing all the way in. You tighten it up good, because you cannot, once you arm this, if this cable pulls out, this thing goes off. So you make sure you've got it locked in there and you've got it all the way in. And you take a pair of clippers. And you want to cut this extra cable off. And the reason you want to cut that extra cable sticking out off is because if you didn't cut that off, you would have to pull the cord to get it to go off. You would have to pull your handle until all this extra cable had pulled through and out of this head before it would go off. So you'd have to pull like this much cable before the fire extinguisher would go off on the manual firing. So you want to cut it off. You don't want to cut it off flush because you want to be able to tell that it's stuck all the way through. So, just going to reach in there, and again, this is just my installation. That's perfect. Got about a 1/4 inch sticking out. That's great. Alright, so I'll probably take it after I get all this painted and I bolt that down tight. I'll probably put me a zip tie right there just to secure that. Now that I've got the manual cable installed, I can take and pull the arming pin out of this head. Now once I pull that arming pin out, there's pressure against this cable. So if I was to pull that manual handle, then that pin is going to drop and it's going to fire off this bottle just like the automatic is capable of doing. I'm going to leave the pin in right now until I get done painting and everything. We're ready to go racing. But I will say, once I pull this arming pin out, I'll keep that pin out. I won't put that back in between races or anything like that. The system will just stay armed from that point on, unless I'm doing maintenance or something where I'm going to take the bottle out, in which case I would put that pin back in. But like, this looks great to me. We're good to go. I have to say, installing this fire suppression system in this car, not hard at all. I think anybody in racing could do this yourselves as an add-on item. You can get like the big aluminum clamps where the bottle itself will like clamp onto a roll bar or something like that. So really not hard to put in. A couple of hours for me and we had this thing knocked out. As far as like cost-wise, I think this 5-pound 2-nozzle unit was around $700. And I think the 10-pound 3-nozzle unit right now is running around $1,000. I wouldn't have been able to afford this. There are a lot of parts on this car that if it wasn't for sponsors, we would not have the kind of stuff we've got. But on this unit right here, it was an anonymous sponsor that helped us out with this because there were some things that I had helped him with. Thank you very much for that, sir. You go unnamed, but you are very much appreciated. Hey, coming up next, we're going to do the wiring for the car. So you want to make sure you're subscribed, make sure you got your notifications on. Follow me on the social media. I've got links to all of that in the description for every video as well, because I always put the notifications everywhere for every new video on all my social media platforms. I will see you next time.